He says this right here. This is well documented among historians. This is historical fact that slaves did develop skills while they were enslaved and then used those skills as blacksmiths, as in agriculture, tailoring, in the shipping business, to then use to benefit themselves and their families once they were freed. That's not controversial.
If you think that slavery is such an inhumane and deplorable practice, which it is, then why are you going to such great lengths to highlight its benefits?
And it actually speaks to the resilience and the aptitude of the enslaved African Americans who were at the time able to better themselves and able to improve their situation, despite brutal conditions, horrific and abhorrent conditions.
No, I'll tell you what that whole clip really is. It's very tone deaf. Why? Well, here's another example that might give you an idea, and then we'll talk about what's actually in the curriculum.
It made me think, as someone, obviously I'm not black, but I'm Jewish. Would someone say about the Holocaust, for instance, that there were some benefits for Jews, right? While they were hanging out in concentration camps, you learned a strong work ethic, right? Maybe you learned a new skill.
Middle school teachers must now include lessons, quote, how slaves developed skills, which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit.
And pray tell, what skills would that be? Look, this is just so sick. Why? If you are claiming not to be racist, why are you going out of your way to sugarcoat slavery and make there a silver lining amongst it? Here's more.
Things that are involved in this curriculum. One of them is the teaching of the Ocoee Massacre. Teachers are required to mention acts of violence perpetrated by African Americans. Similar standards are applied to other massacres, the Tulsa Massacre, the Atlanta Race Riot, Rosewood Massacre. And I want to be clear here, these are all cases of violent armed mobs of white people attacking Black Americans.
You see what conservatives are doing here? Look, they are trying to make this like a both sides are bad situation, when in reality they just cannot reckon with their white guilt. So they desperately cling to identity politics, using anchors like Candace Owens or Harris Faulkner to say the most deplorable things, or this woman.
And if it wasn't for slavery, I might be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree.
Here's more, and then I'll tell you what this is really about.
They're also not required to teach African American history past Reconstruction to elementary and middle school students. And they omit the fact that Florida in 1957, the legislature passed a resolution opposing the Brown v. Board, a landmark decision by the Supreme Court that ended legal segregation in public education.
Ron DeSantis knows that this is bad for him because his first response was, I didn't do it, I'm not involved in it.
But it's your administration doing it, so you are involved in it. But let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Look, there are no upsides to slavery. Being ripped away and kidnapped from your community and family, being separated from them, crammed on a tight quarters slave ship where you are forced into deplorable conditions where you have to be in your own filth, and then if you survive getting to America, you are sold off as property into indentured servitude to a white slave owner who decides to physically abuse and sexually abuse you while not compensating you for your labor, not allowing you to build yourself up and pull yourself up from your bootstraps. Now, do you think there sounds like any benefits in that practice? Treating people as property? No. This is not a silver lining situation where you get to redefine the most brutal and dark part of our American history. And this is what Republican Governor Ron DeSantis and other Republicans are choosing to do with their time. You know, instead of serving their constituents, but I don't know, tackling infrastructure, ending gun violence, hurricane prevention, it is hurricane season coming up, Ron DeSantis, or I don't know, lowering the cost of prescription drugs, ending homelessness. This is what they choose to focus on during their time in office. So aren't you all tired of this insanity? For heaven's sake, vote blue. End this crap now. My name is Scott Johnson. You can find more of me on my YouTube and on my TikTok, where I do morning shows at 7 a.m. every weekday morning by clicking the link in the description below. I have 72,000 followers. You know what you want to be a part of that morning show. And also, most importantly, make sure to subscribe to The Breakdown so you can see more from incredible hosts like me. We produce some pretty awesome content, so you don't want to miss out.